Welcome to episode 33 of the British Boxing Blog podcast. Midweek episode talking all things Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and a little look ahead to the weekend's action, including MTK Newcastle card and Matchroom USA event in Texas. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure you click the little subscribe or follow button, however you're listening. And again, thank you from both of us for your support. We massively appreciate it. Thank you and enjoy. We've got both Andrew and Stephen here. How are you doing? You alright?
Yes, what I made. Good at you.
Yeah. I think, I'm not too bad. Just trying to sort of get my head around all the weekend's action just gone. I think obviously no other place to start. Fury Wilder.
No, that's it. And like you say, just it's Wednesday now, and still trying to sort of digest that fight, and then obviously the reaction after it. And it's hard because you want to keep looking forward as well. Like we'll touch on it later. There's a cracking card coming up this weekend as well, and we're going to a show together in Newcastle this weekend. But you just kept getting drawn back to that because just what a night it was, And there's, like I said, I think on the last podcast we did, that there's not that many fights now that the older you get, that get you up in the early hours and that. But as I said, I set my alarm for 4, got up, and as I joked on social media that I was just in time for the big heavyweight fight, Charles Martin versus Gerald Washington, of course.
Did you watch that one as well?
Huh?
Did you watch that as well?
Oh, but I was up for it, so I watched it. I had a bit of money on the Charles Martin stoppage, so that went all right. Probably the only bet I won at the weekend. So I watched that, and anyway, yeah. I was thinking, oh God, I'm up too early here. What time's he going to come on? But it wasn't that bad in the end. The ring walks were spectacular, and it just had that feel about it. And then the performance was unbelievable. I think I tweeted on Monday, and I still stand by it. I think in our generation, me and you, 32, 33-year-old, that it was probably one of the most dominant performances I've seen in a world title fight, and for what was, let's not be mistaken, a total 50-50 fight, with the bookmakers.
That's it. The bookies couldn't split it, and like we did a poll, and sort of everywhere you heard, the majority was it's either going to be Wilder or catch him, and stop him and hurt him, and that'll be that, or Fury will outbox him. There was a few mutterings and a few little mumbles of some people thinking Fury might get the stoppage, but I don't know if that was like consensus, if that was a widely agreed outcome. It wasn't. I think the most likely one, as I've said there, was either Wilder knocking him out or Fury outboxing him and outpointing him. But maybe we should have listened to what Tyson Fury and obviously John Fury had said in the build-up. They both came out and were quite open about the tactics and what he was going to do and how he was going to do it. And I think most people felt it was a bit tongue-in-cheek, that maybe the mind games and, oh, he's saying this, is he saying that to try and put some seeds of doubt in Wilder's mind, and he's going to not quite do that, but he did exactly what he said on the tin. He came out and he put it on him from almost the opening bell.
No, that's it. You're totally right, and it was him. They said that. He said he would do that, and as you say, he put it on him from the opening bell. He forced him back, and in the end, he almost bullied him, and that's one of, as people like to say, he's one of the most fearsome punchers in history and all that. And he's the WBC heavyweight champion for 5 years, and he basically ragdolled him around the ring. It was a beatdown in every sense of the word. He bullied him, and it was unlike anything I've really seen from Tyson before, compared to, say, that Klitschko performance or Wilder 1. It was, Tyson just looked like a big giant in there and just ragging his man about in that. It was unbelievable. The severity of the nature of the beating that he gave Wilder. He was totally dominant from the first bell until Wilder finally got stopped / pulled out. I would never see nothing like it. It was one of the most impressive sort of one-sided beatdowns in such a big fight that I've seen.
I think, as you said before there, for like a 50-50 fight, it was probably one of the most dominant outcomes of a 50-50 fight. That you're likely to see, especially on that stage and on that level where sort of everyone was involved, everyone was engrossed in it all, and there's such a debate going on beforehand. Obviously, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I don't think there's a surprise in the sense that someone who's put it on Wilder and forced him onto the back foot has been able to beat him. It's just that it's obviously a lot easier said than done doing that when you've got someone with such ferocious power standing in your way. It's almost like easier to go onto the back foot and try and defend and have that default position. You don't want to take one of his shots to land one of your own, but Fury had no regard for it. He took a couple of shots fairly clean, it looked like, but as you said, because of the size difference, the weight difference, and as well, you've got to put a bit down to Tyson's skill in there as well. He although he was coming forward, he was still moving, he was still jabbing, he was still boxing, essentially. He wasn't just a walk him down, take loads of shots. He was making Wilder work, and he was pushing him onto the back foot and making it very uncomfortable from the opening bell.
Yeah, you're totally right what you're saying, and, over the past few years, we all thought, well, most people thought that the blueprint to beat Wilder was what Fury did in the first fight because, outbox him because we know Wilder's not the best technically. So that's what we all, thought the blueprint was to beat him. But to sort of turn that on his head, and whether it came from the new trainer, Sugar Hill or Andy Lee or both or whatever, or Tyson, everyone needs to take credit for that game plan because it showed actually that there is this way to do it, and that is, to pressure the puncher basically and put it on him, like you said, but put it on him in sort of a not a I'll take one for you to give me one type of, you know what I mean, or you hit me then I'll hit you type of way. It was calculated. It was, as you said, it wasn't just sort of brawling for the sake of it. It was calculated. It was thought through, and it was making them work. It was using everything to Fury's advantage, and it was brilliant. It was just like it was perfect. He got it absolutely perfect on the night, and I've never really seen that from Tyson before. Like, we all know that sort of jerky Tyson and jab move and the movement of Tyson, and sort of I've never really seen him properly for a while go into that full heavyweight beast mode. Do you know what I mean? Like, even people like Pianetta and the other guy fought in his tuna fights and Otto Wallen and that, and they took him rounds, and you thought there was that sort of that myth around Tyson that he's not the biggest of punchers and stuff, and he's not the most heavy-handed. And Saturday he sort of showed actually, well, he can go into that beast type of mode and stand toe to toe with Wilder and beat him at his own game. And it was so impressive, man. It was really good. It was just he looked unstoppable. He looked like a man possessed, and just ruthlessly went about his work. And what a win it was. Amazing.
I think ruthless was the word, as you say. He didn't give Wilder a moment's respite from the first until obviously the 7th. What did you make of the stoppage itself? Because there's been a fair bit of discussion and debate about that since.
I just thought Wilder looked more or less done to me. Like, he looked just like a man that had, his legs had gone. His senses didn't really look all there. He looked like exhausted, and I don't mean this in a bad way, really, but it was almost a bit pricey in the way that he just sort of gassed. He just looked like he had nothing left, and it was a beatdown, Andrew. And I know he was still landing a few shots and stuff, but there wasn't much coming from Wilder. And I think if anyone, you've got to think of your fighter's health and that. And it looked like it was just a bit too savage and a bit too much of a beating to really argue that he should have been kept in there. I know he's always got a chance, and you have it heavyweight boxing, but I just thought you got to think of his health. And I don't know, it was coming, and it was, I don't know, it was a bit uncomfortable to watch at times, and I've got no issues with it. Like, with the
I agree with that. I agree exactly with what you're saying, which makes it all the more strange that, like, Wilder himself, and there's been sort of rumoured disagreements within the corner itself, like who actually threw the towel in. His head trainer, JD's, was saying that he wouldn't have done that. He'd have kept him going. Wilder would rather go out on his shield and stuff. But
I'm sure he would, and a lot of fighters would.
Someone in that corner, like, someone's obviously got that compassion and that respect for Wilder, and as I say, he's like looking after him, and I think, like, obviously someone with Wilder, he's always got a chance with that right hand, but at what point is enough? And as you say, he's took a sustained beating. And I think if Tyson had that one punch power or something near to Wilder's one punch knockout power, Wilder would have probably been out by then. But he's getting hit with hard, accurate shots round after round and just getting broken down essentially. And then I think it was in between the sixth and the seventh, Wilder looked like a broken man. He looked like he'd been completely and utterly battered and broken down. He was sort of getting propped up. His head was dropped, like looking down. He wasn't sort of in that position of like, right, I'm all for a big round here. It was like the writing was almost on the wall then.
I totally agree. Like you said, he was totally broken down, and you know, I know fighters have pride and they don't want to be pulled out. Any fighter doesn't want to be pulled out, but there's a reason he was. There's a reason the towel came in, and you know the referee was sort of calling off as well. And it was just, you have to, you know, that's why they're in his corner, and they have to look out for the fighter. And he might disagree, and he probably will get rid of that guy now. But if he does, he does. That's his call. But you know, there's fighters' pride, and there's. But people also have a responsibility for the safety of the fighters as well. And how many we've seen a few deaths, ring-related deaths, you know, in the past 12 months alone. And you know, you just, like you said, he's taking big, hard, clean shots from like a 19-stone bloke and 18 stone, and just not really giving much back. And to me, it was getting on the borderline sort of uncomfortable viewing. And I just think, you know, I've got no issues with it whatsoever. He might have, as I say, a fighter's pride and all that, but I think if he sees the bigger picture, and you know, that you've got to think of health's more important than any sort of world title fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And you've mentioned there as well the sort of old adage of live to fight another day. Do you think that other day will involve an immediate rematch with Tyson Fury, try and get his WBC belt back, or do you see him going a different route?
It's a good one. A good question. I'm sort of talking about this on Twitter the other day, that me, personally speaking now, I just thought Wilder Fury 1 left a lot of questions to be answered still. Wilder Fury 2, they were just sort of emphatically answered for me. That was so one-sided and so, you know, so ruthless, so just clear-cut that I just think the clamour's just not there for me for 3. It was all answered. It was all done there. Immediately, I don't think I'd like to see it again. I think not straight away. The one for me, it has to somehow look at making Fury Joshua for 2020. Like, and oh god, we could have the whole thing talking about TV networks and blah blah blah. And
I'd rather not.
that. But I know, me too. But for me, Wilder, he's got a right to exercise that clause. That clause was in the contract. You know, he's got it there. If he wants it, then they can do it again. And you know, the closer it gets, the more it will sell. It'll still be a big draw and stuff, but it's not something it's hard because you don't want to totally write Wilder off. He's been a champion for 5 years and all that, and I get it, WBC champ. But I don't know. I don't know how you would sell that third fight. Like, the second fight was because of the knockdowns and Fury boxing his head off, and it was like, oh god, this is so tantalizing. You know what I mean? But the third fight is like, I just don't know if there's any need. It was. I don't see how it'll be any different, to be honest with you.
I think the only reason for it is the fact that the clause is obviously in the contract reportedly, and the ball in that sense is firmly in Wilder's court. He's going to go away, lick his wounds, recover, and then him, and whether it's his same camp or whether it's different trainers, coaches, whatever, they've got decisions to make around what exactly it was that cost Wilder the fight. Obviously, we've heard the excuses, some of the downright ludicrous excuses of the ring entrance, his uniform, his suit, whatever you want to call it. He walks out looking like a Power Ranger, eyes all lit up to celebrate Black History Month. I'm not quite sure how he'd done that or what that was about, but obviously it's gone from one thing to the other. His legs were apparently drained from that. There's rumours of an injury or something affecting his movement beforehand. There's all these sorts of things. He's complained about the referee as well, I think. And I think all of that, as daft as it sounds, and we've took the piss a little bit as well this week, but you can understand that a little bit because he's going to be raw. He obviously he's never lost before as a professional. He's, as you said, he's been world champion for several years, knocked out everyone he's faced up until the Gypsy King, obviously. But like all these sorts of things, and he's in an alien position now. He's probably not sure how to deal with it, and the immediate aftermath. He's lots of things are going to be going around his head. It's obviously over the next few weeks, few months. He's got some big decisions to make. Does he get back in the gym? Does he work on stuff that will actually sort of give him that belief that he's going to beat Fury? I mean, what does he do to beat him? I'm not sure. Like, he's not going to outbox him. Fury's just showed he can outfight him as well. There are a lot of question marks around that. But if you look at the other option of him going away, maybe having a couple of sort of tune-up fights, testing out what he's learned in the gym and building himself back up. I don't know if he, at 34, if he's got or if he will have the motivation to do that. Like, the biggest money fight out there, the biggest reward is obviously going to be getting his belt back. And as you mentioned there, his pride is going to have a massive, massive part in that. It's an interesting one from the Wilder point of view, is to just where exactly he goes next. Any fighter is not going to want to go out on a loss, and especially not in a performance like that. But it's difficult to see where he gets that confidence from, where they get the belief. What can they do in an immediate rematch to reverse his fortunes and to get the green belt back?
No, you're totally right. That, you know, you do see this a lot in 50-50 fights, that the pride speaks the next day and stuff. Just, you see it even in domestic 50-50s, like, you know, there's always that the loser always wants to go again. And like, say for example, like Rich and Robbie Davis, oh, I'd love to do it again, let's get it on again. But you knew that night, and people knew the next few days, you thought, there's no need. Do you know what I mean? That was done then. Like, exactly, you know what I mean? And they're always going to get them sort of excuses. And honestly, when I seen that one about his Power Ranger suit on, I think, one of the Twitter sites, and I thought it was just a parody. I thought they were just making a daft quote up and, you know, saying it as a joke. And, you know, I thought, oh, kind of funny that. Then it kept breaking and going and going. I thought, bloody hell, he actually has said that then. Yeah, he said it on a call with Yahoo, I think, on some sort of post-fight conference call or something like that. Mental. Which you're going to get ridiculed for that. I've seen people talk about people who work on building sites, people in the army who carry bloody backpacks and Bergens and what have you, bigger than that.
Yorkshire Fire Brigade tweeted him as well. Like,
did they?
Saying, like, he needs to get firefighting fit before he gets back in the ring.
That's it. And, you know, it was a bit of a silly one, that, like, that's daft, like, but, you know, like you say though, like, is he the type that'll go away? Will he do that traditional move of bidding off the trainer? Do you know what I mean? Go somewhere else? And
I'm not sure what he can learn at 34.
Because he's never been the most technical of boxers.
Exactly,
anyway,
he's made his career off, and it's simplifying it a bit, but essentially having that scary, phenomenal power that. But we saw in his last fight, like Luis Ortiz was out boxing him, and you just knew that if Wilder connected, it was lights out, and that's exactly what happened. And I think that was the case a lot of people thought with Fury, but Fury's just showed another string to his bow. He's just showed that versatility that would maybe a lot of people underestimated and didn't expect from him.
That's you're totally right, and I'm not really sure, like you say, where he can really go from here, and is there that much clamour for a third? But who knows?
I definitely don't think there is this side of the pond. I think any sort of immediate clamour for it has been coming from like the American equivalent. I know Michelle Joy Phelps mentioned, like, I saw she did a video, I didn't watch it, but I'd seen a tweet that she'd put out saying, like, Wilder deserves the rematch, and he, you know what I mean? I can see where she's coming from with that, in that he's the former champion, he's just lost his belt. Like, yes, he should be allowed that a chance at redemption, but from a selfish fan point of view, Fury Joshua is the only one I want to see now. Like, that's the only fight that interests me at heavyweight.
Someone was arguing. Anyway. Yeah, someone tried to argue with me on Twitter yesterday and just said, like, but Joshua had a rematch against Andy Ruiz, and I says, well, but it's circumstances. I thought they were different type of fights, but, you know, like,
no, the thing is, and obviously there's similarities there, because literally like they both ended in the 7th round. The challengers ripped the belt from the champion with a fairly dominant performance. But I agree with what your reply when you were saying like that was seen as like a blip. It was, the context was totally different. Joshua was obviously the massive favourite going into that, and it was such a big upset. Joshua was always going to get that chance to avenge that loss and avenge that one fight, whereas Fury and Wilder have already done it twice. You can make a fairly safe argument for Fury having, or should have having, won both. And like the first one had that controversy. It was right, oh well, you know, Fury should have won that on points. He's outboxed him for most of it, but Wilder showed that he's still in it. He's a live dog. He's clipped him. He's dropped him twice. If it had gone on one more round, he'd have had him out there. And there was a lot of intrigue and a lot of like points you could put either way. Whereas this one, you just come out of it thinking, right, Fury's proved that he's the better man. Like, you want to see him have face a different challenge, face somebody else. And again, from that UK point of view, the Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua potential matchup is like massive. It's, I think, not even in terms of boxing, in terms of like British sport, it's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest events ever. And we're not ones for hyperbole where we exaggerate and spin stuff, but it genuinely feels that it could be that big.
Yeah, like I say, like you've just said there, like Fury Joshua, it's that once in a generation, or maybe more, maybe bigger than that, opportunity now to make this fight with the two heavyweight champions of the world solely being from Britain and that. And you know, we've got a massive opportunity on our hands here, and I know boxing doesn't always seize these opportunities, but I think everyone involved in that, from Eddie Hearn to Frank Warren to Top Rank to MTK to DAZN, Sky Sports, Adam Smith, whoever, BT, just Tyson, Anthony Joshua and their teams, whatever, have just a responsibility now that, like, just don't mess this up and make it happen. Like, think of the legacy, and just, you've got such a massive, monumental fight on your hands here that, you know, it's unprecedented, and it may never ever happen again. You know what I mean? You could be talking years and years and years. It's just massive, and like, for once, boxing has to sort of put the egos and bullshit to one side and really just get it to happen. But as we all know, it's not ever as easy as that. But it just makes so much sense now, and it's there. It's on a plate, and you know, Joshua will fight Pulev next. We know that. Like, that's going to happen. But after that, you know, why not? Why not do it this year? You know, it doesn't even have to be in this country. I'm not even asked where it is. Like, just do it.
See, I'm the opposite there. I think it has to happen in Britain. I can totally understand why it might.
Well, so did I the other day, but
again, that's it. From just what you've said there, and that little spiel you've given, it just sort of almost gave me goosebumps. Thinking, imagine that at Wembley or at Tottenham Stadium or something like. Imagine they could get something where they could like fill it even more and have like 100,000 there or whatever. And
no, you're right. You're all right.
I'll be like, right, I need to go and see that. I need to like get down to London and make that effort and get a ticket, and you just sort of do what you need to do.
Good.
But
good luck at the first pass.
Exactly. Well, I get in touch with Dan from Matchroom, or might be the Frank Warren equivalent. We never know. But
no, like, what I meant by that was like, God, I really do want to see it in Britain, you know. And I just, you know, British boxing blog at the end of the day, you know, it's huge for British boxing. But if it means the fight was to happen, you know, and the money was there, and it could only be done in Saudi or wherever, America, in a stadium over there, then if that's what it takes for it to happen, then so be it.
I do see that point of view. I know what you mean. Like, I'd rather it happened abroad than not at all.
Yeah, that's what I meant by that. Sorry, I wasn't out. Yeah, I'd love it to be at Wembley or Tottenham, like you say. It's a mega fight, and it's even bigger, and it's never been bigger than it is now, really. And it might never will be again. So I just think, God, think of your legacy, and think people will talk about that maybe in 30, 40, 50 years, you know what I mean? If it lives up to what we think it will, and it's just massive. But, you know, boxing isn't that easy, and there's a lot of people involved and a lot of money involved, and both sides have money now, and why, you know, it wouldn't be as easy as just Sky now dictating to the smaller Frank Warren BT, because it's not that anymore. There's Top Rank, there's bloody DAZN. You know, there's serious money from both sides of the park now, and it's like I didn't want to get into this side of it. I didn't, but
no, I agree. We'll stop there because we'll probably cover this in the months to follow, because there'll be various sound bites from both sides and the posturing and
this will rumble on. Yeah, but it's already started, Andrew. Like, it started basically the second Fury won on Saturday night. Like, Hearn's doing a sit down with IFL again this week. Sky Sports had basically obviously already done their GIFs and memes and everything in preparation of Fury winning. It was the minute he won, it was like mocking up pictures and screenshots and walking on with Fury and Joshua together head to head, and it was like, you know what I mean? It started from the minute he won, and like, this will go on for months and months, you know.
But I think the pot has to be big enough. Like, I mean, it will be big enough that they can both make concessions. They can both take, like, they can both afford to take the lesser share, and they both got good arguments for taking the lion's share as well. And as I say, I really hate getting into this sort of stuff, so I'm not going to go any longer. But
let's cut that there.
It just makes sense. Like, just split everything down the middle and get the fight on. Like, no one cares.
Yeah, that's it. That is the BBB angle. Just do it. Just make it happen. By hook or by crook, just do it. They've basically got a responsibility to the sport to do it. Like, just do it. You know what I mean?
We're not sponsored by Nike, by the way, for anyone wondering.
Go on.
So could go on for another hour about that, and we'll move on. So we're in the middle of the week now. We've talked about the previous weekend. We haven't actually talked about the MTK Golden Contract, but
Christ!
Again, we could be on for a while about that.
I think we covered a lot of it on our Twitter on Friday night, and it was basically, we had a lad down there reviewing it for us as well, which is now on the website as well. Ian Dolan goes to a lot of London shows for us, which we are very grateful for. Knocks up a good review and takes some good photos in that for us, which we appreciate.
Just fantastic insight into London pubs as well, which is always welcome.
Yeah, great man. He's a top man. Appreciate what he does for us. A quick one sentence. It was everything he wanted it to be, a tournament format at your call. One blemish on the night was the judging on the McKenna Mamoon fight, and it was like, that was the blemish, and it was a big blemish. It was scandalous, really. You know, but we made our feelings very strongly clear on Twitter about that, and I still don't take that back, really. I think it was a disgrace that Mamoon didn't win that fight. But, you know, apart from that, Jazza Dickens versus Lee Wood was a hell of a fight over 10 rounds. Brilliant fight, great win for Jazza. You know, there was Ryan Walsh was victorious going through to his final as well. Like, Bahara Davis got a stoppage win. It was just everything you wanted for sort of a tournament format, semi-final, 4 fights over 10 rounds. Didn't disappoint at all. It was good. It was spot on, and like, I think they might have stumbled across something domestically very good in these tournaments. So I got an MTK for that, and your call, it was having one of its sort of electric nights, and all good. No complaints apart from the judging and one fight.
Yeah.
Well, 2 fights. Two fights, but one fight specifically.
Sure, I like that one. Right, so sticking with the MTK theme then, this coming Saturday, 29th of February, we've got the latest instalment of the MTK Newcastle, I don't know, say branch, franchise, whatever we want to call it.
Well, that's it. It's MTK Global essentially now. Like, I think they've stopped calling it the different city names, but like, it's the same as, say, like the Belfast. It's all in the MTK Global sort of header that, you know, streamed on IFL, like the Belfast one has been, and all that stuff. But as you say, MTK Global, they're in our town, Newcastle, on Saturday night. Our first show of the year, me and you together ringside for probably the first time in a while, actually.
Will be, yeah.
Looking forward to that. Very pleased. We've got an area title fight headlining as well. I was on Box Fest today.
Like, a lot of people obviously who we sort of interact with on social media and follow us and obviously visit the website and things, again, like, might not understand the sort of the importance of this, and it might seem a bit daft that we're going, not daft, but a bit I don't know what word I'm looking for, going from like the world title sort of situation, talking about a Northern Area title, but for the sort of grassroots fans, the area title is something that I think a lot of boxing fans would like to see more of, and particularly for us, obviously the Northern one, it's so rarely contested over the last few years that you were at the last one, just in December there, and Ellis Corrie is going to be defending that welterweight title against Chad Ellis, who's the sort of, I want to say like a home fighter in the sense of he's the MTK boxer, but both lads from the Northeast, a genuine local derby. We're talking about 50-50 fights. I think this is pretty close to being one. Maybe make more of a case for Corrie being the champion and coming in off the back of a fantastic stoppage win over Tom Hill. But it's just the fact that that title's on the card, and it's a chance for two prospects to actually go for something a bit more meaningful than padding the record. And yes, that's important when selling tickets, but also for their development and their career. It's like, right, we've got two lads here, not afraid to get in the ring and like, test themselves, test their mettle against someone who's at a similar stage in their career.
No, you're right. And, MTK have that ethos of having a 50-50 or trying to get at least one 50-50 fight on on every show. And they've got one here, and it's needed because, like, the rest of the card is full of sort of mainly Northeast prospects against journeyman, basically, which is not a slant. And I know these things happen up and down the country every week, but I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of 40-36s and stuff on Saturday. But it's the first fight of the year for a lot of these guys. Well, probably all of them on the card, to be honest with you. So, it's to be expected, but it is just nice for everyone's sake, whether it be punters, boxers, media, you know what I mean? Just to have that headline fight at the end of it. And there could have been another sort of Northeast derby on there between Joe Laws and who was rumoured to fight Chrissy Pilkington, but that's fell through due to demands, I think, so from one side. Anyway, so that's a shame that sort of got pulled, because that would have added a nice little spicy atmosphere to it, in Newcastle. But Joe Laws is still in the card as well. You've got Troy Williamson, Joe Mafosa, Lee Reeves from the Ingle Sheffield. It's quite deep with prospects.
There's obviously the lads from EDC as well, Eastern College, who I spoke to last week. They're looking forward to it. You've got the Black Diamond fighting out of Greece originally. Alex Farrell, he's like the top lad, and he's one I rate very highly from like the couple of outings I've seen and watched him sparring a few times. Saw him sparring a current UFC fighter, and he more than held his own there. So there's definitely, from a Northeast point of view, there's definitely a lot of interest there and a lot of talent and like potential talent, shall we say, for the one in attendance to keep their eye on. Looking at like a massive amount of fights scheduled. I don't know how many are actually still on and are going to place, but you've got like those you mentioned. Obviously, Alex, I've just talked about there. Tom Hill and Adam Gare, the other lads from EDC.
And Thornsby.
Webster's listed to be fighting. We've got
he is
as well, who's an exciting heavyweight prospect in the area.
Yeah, and Thornsby's on there.
Yeah, I was just going to mention Ant, because obviously we were supposed to, and we were hoping to get in touch with him and speak to him in the gym tonight, or get him on the podcast. Unfortunately, that hasn't been able to happen, but we'll definitely catch up with Ant at the weekend. He's I think he's 3-0 at the moment. He's never. I don't think I've ever seen him in a dull fight. He's one who he always, every time we speak to him, he talks about getting to his boxing and sticking to his technical skills that he possesses, but he's not afraid to get into a bit of a tear up as well. So he's in an exciting fight. So from a point of view, I think it's going to be a good one. But also, we talked about this with the Belfast one, because it's on the IFL YouTube channel and anyone can access that. It's definitely worth tuning in for, and you might see someone on there who catches your eye, who maybe impresses, gets a stoppage, or box, ticks a few of your boxes, what you look for in a boxer, and it's someone you can watch their career and you can watch them build and look back in a couple of years' time if they've got a British title or even beyond and think, I remember seeing him when he only had a few pro fights. And it's a different way of looking at boxing, but it's
agreed.
Quite a rewarding way in a bizarre little way.
I guess it's a bit of a hardcore way, in a way that, if your Saturday night is watching, the MTK show from Newcastle on a YouTube stream, then you know, fair play. You can, you're the same as us. You know what I mean? I did it the other week with Belfast and Liverpool, and you know we love it. I think it's close to a sellout. You know, I think a lot of tickets have been sold, so I'm not sure if there is. I was going to say, "Oh, get yourselves a long pay on the door, whatever," but I'm not even sure if that is an option, to be honest with you. But I'm not sure. You've got, as you say, you've got Joe Laws on there, who's again fighting on the Matchroom show in April, so he'll be tuning up for that. There's some good names on there. You've got Matt McCallum, Matt Stark, Matt McCallum, whatever you want to call him, who's a lovely lad who I bumped into down at the MTK Newcastle gym last week. Chad Ellis's stablemate, really nice lad. First time I met him, was impressed by the way he came across, and nice calmness about him and confidence about him. Good lad. So I love it. You know, it's our bread and butter, these northeast shows, and the Eagles Arena is a cracking arena that we say arena, but oh, Man City nearly scored. Anyway, sorry. It's a nice sort of small venue, but like a mini arena basically. It's nice. It generates a really good atmosphere.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned it before. It's obviously the Eagles, being the Newcastle Eagles, the basketball team up here, and it's that sort of bridge between the typical sort of small hall like venues that you might see, the social club side of things, and leisure centres. It's a little step up from there, which I think suits MTK, that they can add that production value to what is essentially a small hall show. Just adds that bit of quality, bit of class to proceedings.
That's it. And you know, Newcastle United are at home Saturday, and I think there might be a few people going to the match, having a few pints, making their way down there. You know, it has the potential to be a good day, and there's a good headline fight. And as you say, that's paramount. Just to get that on there, and the second Northern Area title in a row up here on like consecutive shows, which is really encouraging, and fair play to Ellis Corey for winning it and immediately defending, and fair play to Chad for stepping up as well, and Tom Hill last time and that. And it's what you need, you know what I mean? Like we touched on this on the podcast with Lewis Richardson the other week, and I guess you can only be a prospect for so long, and there has to be a time where you roll that dice, and if you get an opportunity for Northern Area title, you win it, like Lewis Richardson did. It can sort of change your career and get you a ranking, and next thing you know, you're kicking around like English or British level. And I think, without giving too much away, I think that's probably the plan they're looking for Ellis if he wins, and Chad if he wins. You know, that there's rumours of the winner being able to fight on the Lewis Richardson arena show as well. So there's a lot at stake for both lads, and it's certainly one we're looking forward to. We're friendly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're sort of unofficial or rumours, especially regarding Ellis Corey. Like his manager Steve Rate's been on Twitter and social media trying to sell tickets for Ellis for the Newcastle Arena show for the Richardson undercard. So I don't know about specific opponents or what level of fight that is, but they're hoping it'll be a step on.
The last I heard was
successfully defends his Northern Area belt.
He said it could be an English eliminator, but they were very respectful in saying that, in that they know they've got sort of the Northern Area title fight coming up before they can think of that Matchroom show. And it'll be a good night. Always is when MTK come to Newcastle. I think doors open 5:30, so I'd be good to see some faces on the undercard as well, and catch up with everyone that's involved with Northeast boxing and stuff. And always a good night, and always good to see people, and very handy for us too, being in the centre of, more or less the centre of Newcastle as well. So spot on. Looking forward to it.
So if there is anyone there and you spot us ringside, feel free to come and say hello. We're generally quite friendly. That goes out as well to the winner of our previous round for pound guaranteed giveaway. So we give away 2 tickets for this one. And then the gentleman who won asked our permission if he could sort of auction them for a charitable cause close to his heart. So I'm not actually sure who's in possession of the tickets, but I'm sure they'll pop along and say hello once they're there.
100%. It's great generosity of MTK to give us 2 tickets to run for a round for pound boxing predictor game giveaway thing that we did. So that was great. Got one more round still to go. Well, we're sort of a quarter of a way through a round on that.
Mid round at the moment. So we've had
mid-round,
fights down. We've obviously included the Tyson Fury Wilder fight, and we also had the British title fight that was on Saturday night. It was actually shown on ITV as well as BT Sport between Lucian Reid and Brad Foster.
That's totally gone under the radar since. That was what a performance that was from Brad Foster, by the way.
I know. As we were sort of talking there, I was thinking we probably should mention that. I know we've reviewed last weekend, but it was like, considering the first fight was so close, so nip and tuck. Again, similar to the Fury performance, you could say he's absolutely just ground his opponent down. He put it on him from start to finish, and I think it was at the end of the sixth that, or during the sixth, that it sort of was waved off.
Earlier in the week, the bookies couldn't split them. They were both sort of 5-6, just under evens. And later in the week, the money started going on Reid, who many thought were maybe a little robbed in the first fight. And, the odds sort of plummeted on him. And Foster started a clear underdog on the night, but just it didn't follow that pattern at all. Like you say, Foster sort of controlled aggression, and putting it on Reid was extremely impressive. Reid was a good fighter, and he's a cracking amateur as well. And brilliant win for Brad Foster. And as you say, it's gone under the radar. And it was on ITV. And like I've seen you on Saturday, I don't think the ring walked till about 11 o'clock or just after. Obviously, trying to keep as many people up and active and watching boxing, drip feeding that into the sort of Fury Wilder.
Yeah, it's actually a really clever bit of marketing, clever little strategy they had going there. And
yeah, absolutely.
Again, we won't find these things out, but would be interesting to see just how many people paid for it and stayed up for it and what sort of numbers it did.
That's it. Especially being on ITV, it was a simultaneous broadcast alongside BT, which I was a bit sceptical about at first. But then I thought, well, the more boxing, I've always said this from day one, the more boxing that's on terrestrial TV, because I know BT's a subscription channel and stuff, and, it costs more to get it added on TV packages and that I get. So, if you've got British title fight on ITV on a Saturday night, then there's no losers, really. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's good for fans, good for fighters, exposure, the lot. So I'm all for that. Any boxing that's on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and free sports and all that, then, you've got a fan in me.
I concur. As I say, we watch any form of boxing, so
mate, honestly,
free for us, the better by far. Right, we'll crack on. We're sort of looking ahead to the weekend because there is another card that's caught my interest. I know you'll be paying attention to it as well. Not actually British in the sense of not happening in this country, but there is a bit of British involvement. A couple of fighters on the card, and obviously Eddie Hearn himself promoting it in Texas.
Yeah.
There are also 4 fights on this card that make up the rest of the round for pound round. So I suppose we can maybe look ahead to those, give a little prediction, talk about how we think they're going to go. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I don't have the data to hand to say exactly how I predicted them. In fact,
I can't remember.
I might have them here. Yeah, I'll have a little look for you. So
I
said that Foster would win on points, so not too far. I also said Fury would win on points. And then, well, I might as well point this out. The only person who has got perfect scores so far who said Brad Foster would win in rounds 5 to 6 and Tyson Fury would win in rounds 7 to 8 is my mother. So,
brilliant.
Bearing in mind, she wouldn't know Tyson Fury if she met him in the street. It's incredible that she's there.
That's outstanding, that.
But she has assured me that if she does win the jackpot, she'll put it back in.
Great. My dad's entered
if Mary Newton is our first winner, I'll be astounded.
She can come to Floyd Mayweather with us. We are giving another guaranteed giveaway this round as well, which is 2 tickets kindly given to us by Steve Wraith and our friends at the O2 City Hall in Newcastle to an evening with Floyd Mayweather in Newcastle on Saturday the 7th of March. Saturday the 7th of March, in Floyd Mayweather in Newcastle. So we'll both be there as well at that. So it was a good night the last time, and hopefully that'll be a good one again. So nice to give some prizes away for sure. But continuing on, looking forward to the weekend's card. I think it's Eddie Hearn said earlier in the week that it's one of the best cards he's put together, sort of full stop. And it's just a really good card. I think it's cracking. Again, that sort of added little tinge of excitement with the British involvement.
So I mean, one of those fights for anyone who's not aware and might be interested, we've got Calify defending his WBA belt against Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. And for anyone who hasn't seen Gonzalez, like check out some of his fights on YouTube. He's been one that I think hardcore fans have known about for a while. I remember Doug Fisher at the Ring magazine sort of singing his praises. Spencer Fearon had mentioned him on the Total Tour podcast as well a few years ago, and he just sort of came into my conscience a bit then. Probably when I wasn't really paying too much attention to those the lighter weight classes, like the flyweights, the super flyweights. So that one is your sort of, I think, crossroads fight is the term. You've got your
fight. Yeah, it is, yeah.
That big win on his name. He's needed the name on his record, something to sort of solidify himself, even though might be right in saying he's the longest standing British world champion at the moment.
You've just pitched me stat. I was gonna
around that level for a while without really having that standout win and cementing himself at the top of the division.
No, I agree. You've just pinched me stat there. I was going to tell you about that. The longest serving British. The longest serving British world champion.
And, I talked about this and rehearsed what we were going to say. We just stealing his best little quips and stuff. But so basically, and then from the Gonzalez point of view, he's lost a couple. He's been dominant at those lower weights, but coming to the tail end of his career, I think it's going to be a case of whether it's good timing, and I don't want to credit Yafai in saying that, but I think it could be a case of being the time to get that name on your record. Well, Gonzalez isn't as dangerous as he once was, but I'm not going to knock it. I think it's still a good fight. He's still a legitimate threat to Yafai, and Yafai will do well to win that one.
No, you're totally right. Like you say, I think the suspicion maybe out there is that they've taken a chance on Chocolatito being on the downward spiral, and this is sort of Yafai's chance to cash in on that and add like you said, an outstanding name to his record. And I think it's a really sort of eye-catching, mouth-watering fight. The one I'm looking forward to, just to see how much Chocolatito does have left, if that is something, and he, could be a hell of a scrap. And like you say, it is the fight Yafai's needed. He's had a bit of a underwhelming sort of world champion reign, and this sort of really adds a bit of excitement. And it's, you don't always, I like Calify, big fan, but you don't always get that excitement. Think, oh, get in, Calify's fighting. But this one's up there, and this one's a real sort of, could be a real one to keep an eye on. I'm looking forward to it a lot.
You know what you predicted for this one?
Did I go Yafai?
You did. Both of us actually predicted Yafai on points for this one.
Right. Okay. Your 5 points. Nice one.
Quite a popular pick, that one. So we'll see if that one comes in. And then just working my way along, we've got another world title fight. We've got a couple. We'll get to the main event, but one of the other world title fights is got Jay Harris traveling over stateside. So go on.
No, I love this fight. I love the opportunity for Jay Harris. Someone's career that I've followed very sort of closely. In recent times, a Welshman that from Swansea, lovely. Seems like a really nice kid, lovely lad. Impressed with him since basically followed him since he beat Thomas Asomba, that we know quite well from his days up here in the northeast back in 2017. He beat him for the Commonwealth title, and since then he's gone on and he's beat Ross Murray, Brett Fido, Angel Marino, and the last time out which was his real sort of breakthrough performance, he sort of brutally stopped Paddy Barnes in a cracking fight as well.
It's good knowledge.
No, it is. I watched that live, and he really sort of dismantled Paddy. He was just a bigger man by a long way, and he really took him apart, and quite a heavy-handed fella for being in the smaller weights. My worry is that this could be a step too far away in Texas against a bit of a formidable opponent who can really make you wince when he sort of lands those shots. Remember, he fought Charlie Edwards, didn't he?
He did, yeah. So
that was the one where, he hit him on the way down, and that all kicked off and stuff. And Suleiman from WBC got in the ring, and it was the Vince McMahon-esque type of thing. But taking away that shot when he hit him on the floor, that was brutal. Those shots were damaging shots, heavy shots, and he's someone that catches your eye every time he fights, and you watch him thinking, this lad can hit, you know. But then talking Jay Harris, me worry is that this guy's like genuinely world class. Like, so it could be a step too far, but I hope it's not. But I do feel like he's class. I really do.
That's fair comment and a good little preview of that one. We've also got going from the flyweights to the heavyweights. We've got Joseph Parker on there on that card.
Big Joseph.
He's someone British fans will be familiar with. He's fought a couple of times over here, lost to Anthony and Dillian White as well.
Yeah.
He's fighting Shondell Winters, who I've honestly never heard of, so I expect Parker to do the business. And again, it's sort of a decent level of comeback for him in the sense of he's fighting someone with a winning record, someone less experienced. You'd expect Parker to win handily, basically.
No, you would, and like
more stuff and seeing what he's got left.
Like you say, exactly what you've just said there. Matchroom and DAZN, have that like sort of stable now of, how do I word it, category B/C heavyweights, like beneath the elite. Do you know what I mean? And
they're sort of like the elite level, aren't they? The world level, but
they're all jostling for position now. Really, do you know what I mean? Everything's up for grabs, and they're just trying to get in positions to, like you see White and Povetkin are fighting and stuff like that. And you've got Herkovic, you've got Gassiev, you've got Usyk, you've got Chisora, you've got Parker, all around. Huey Fury, he'll be coming back again, signed to Matchroom and stuff, like all jostling and for position and trying to keep the powder dry, get into these fights that they need to be and stuff. And Joseph Parker's no different. He returns this week, and it was sort of a nice addition to that card. Like, we'll just stick a heavyweight on it as well. We've got the little guys. Let's throw a big lad on there, and it just adds a nice depth of 4 solid fights to that card. And you know, these days sometimes you're lucky if you get 1 or you get 2, but to have 4 decent enough fights, well, 3 really decent ones, and Parker thrown in there as well, it's not a bad. No issues with it. So as you say, you would expect him to win the fight, definitely, but it's good to see him back.
And then someone else talking about coming back. We've got Mikey Garcia still campaigning up at 147 at welterweight, fighting Jesse Vargas. It's an interesting one. It's similar to what you've just said there. It's like, I think Mikey Garcia is an elite fighter. I'm not convinced about him as a genuine welterweight. But it's just
that's my issue as well. But I was surprised that Garcia was such a heavy favourite. I love Garcia. He's one of my favourite current fighters. I think he's brilliant. Whether he's a 147 fighter, I have my doubts, like you do.
Vargas, I think he's enough to beat Vargas. I don't see Vargas as being in that elite categories.
No, same.
Almost like a gatekeeper to the top level. Again, decent. He's solid enough. Good fundamentals. Not the heaviest hitter. It's almost like a perfect fight at welterweight.
If you want some value, you could a couple of quid on Vargas, just if you think, you know, being maybe a bit more natural at that weight and stuff. But, you know, the rumours out there that Garcia, Pacquiao could already be sort of, you know, in the works. And does that give, you know, Garcia a sort of hidden lead anyway going into the fight? You know, if you've got a big fight lined up, then I don't know. You know, I think basically what I'm saying is Garcia winning it before the bells rang? I don't know, but I'm not convinced of him. But if that's the weight he seems to want to be at, I'm not too sure. But it's a good fight, though. It is a good fight. I'm a big fan of Garcia's. I do expect him to win, but as you say, I do have doubts about him being a genuine 147 fighter going forward. But that seems to be the weight he wants to put himself at.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just like, as you say, you mentioned obviously Pacquiao there, and like maybe chasing the big fights, and he's already fought Spence there and was. I'm not going to put that just down to size. He was outclassed as well. I think Spence used his size well, but he also boxed very well.
Yeah.
So Garcia surprised a few in going the distance with like the big punching welterweight like Spence. So, you know, maybe he's felt that power, and he's obviously gone on the defensive as he did. But he's thought, well, actually, I can sort of take that power. I can maybe mix it with some of the smaller welterweights like a Pacquiao. So he's going to get what we talked about with Yafai and Chocolatito, like the chance to get a good name on the record. Maybe you've seen something Pacquiao can target and exploit. And again, it should be a fairly entertaining fight. It's two decent fighters, two fighters with good records, are both mixed in and around world level in the past, and it'd be interesting.
It's a good card, it is.
Yeah, it's again. I've heard a lot of hype and praise about this card, and it's definitely one that I'll be sort of thinking about watching. It's not one. The DAZN ones haven't been something that really caught my attention. There were a couple of fights, and I've watched them after the event, but none that I've thought, well, actually, I'm really tempted to sort of stay up and watch this one. Whereas,
I'm tempted by this one at least.
Yeah, this one I say it is. It's this, again, the British interest helps, but you've got four. Well, not so much the Parker fight, but like you've got two heavyweights going at it. But you've got like three top fights there where you could make a case for any of the six boxers to win.
No, absolutely. It's one that I'll definitely keep an eye on the running order. Sometimes you get in from these shows like we're on Saturday and you're still a bit hyped and the adrenaline's flowing, and if it gets going quite early, quite nicely, then I'll definitely try and stay awake for a few of them. I was knackered last Sunday. When you try and go back to bed after I was, like yourself, we were both out in Newcastle on Saturday night, and then you're coming in from that, and then you're trying to get yourself back up at sort of 4:30 or whatever. And then you're trying to go back to bed at 7 o'clock the next day. Honestly, I was knackered Sunday afternoon, Sunday night.
Some of my favourite time for interacting with the boxing fans is after staying up on a Saturday night watching the show, and you just know that the only people up are ones who've watched the boxing.
Boxing Twitter was brilliant on Saturday night in that Fury fight, and it had a bit of like an event feel to it. It was great crack, a lot of interaction, on BBB channels and stuff, which was brilliant. Like you're saying, I'll try this one. I'll definitely watch it, if some live, so maybe the next morning because I'm getting on. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a cracking card, and it completes a really good sort of Saturday for us. Getting the chance to take in a bit of live action, as we said, in Newcastle, then watching that later on as well. So decent weekend of boxing coming up for sure.
Spot on. Bring it on. Bring it on.
Absolutely, that.
Anything else? Any other business? Anything else to add?
No, not really. Just thanks to everyone that's watched some of the latest YouTube videos that we've put on recently. There might not be household names to everyone, but we've been around a few of the Northeast gyms as well in the last couple of weeks, again, previewing this show and speaking to the fighters and showing that we enjoy doing. We're no IFL by any means, but we've been breaking that sort of 1,000 views barrier on a few videos, and subscribers have gone up on everything as well. So I just thanks again for everyone plugging their sort of channels and support and everything. So cracking.
Yeah. Brilliant. I think just before we go, just on that note, you just sort of remind me of the YouTube channel that obviously we're building. Any subscriptions, anyone following that and watching the videos will help. But for boxing fans, there's an interview I did quite recently that, again, not a household name and 1-0 as a boxer, but he is a renowned kickboxer and he's fighting in the Glory Kickboxing organisation this weekend. That's Jamie Bates. He was an absolute top lad, top bloke, and I know we say that about a lot of the people we've met through BBB, but genuinely made me feel very welcome. Had a good bit of crack before and after and during the interview. But he's fighting a former world champion, and he's sort of returned to the kickboxing arena, and I believe it's on UFC Fight Pass. I'm not sure what other sort of TV channels it'll be on over here, but for anyone wanting maybe sample something a little bit different, keep an eye out for that one. It should be a cracker.
When I'm finishing this pod, I'll post the interview out again on the social channels as well tonight or tomorrow, and so just to remind people.
Yeah,
that was a really good one.
We'll whack a link out to that. So catch up on that before the weekend, and obviously try and keep up to date with how he gets on. But just a little shout out there to Jamie. Yeah,
best of luck to him, and best of luck to everyone fighting this weekend. And if anyone listening who's got the Newcastle show, then just give us a shout. Come and say hello. We'll have a bit of crack, maybe have a pint, who knows. But I look forward to it. So I'll see you then. I'll message you tomorrow and we'll sort out plans and stuff. But I look forward to that. Look forward to a good weekend of boxing.
Spot on. See you then, mate. Catch you later.
All right, cheers, Andrew. Thanks, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye. Cheers.